All right, so here we are at our last discussion. This is my reply for this week's discussion about the minor league ballpark, and it's how you would go about sort of presenting that to a council. So I chose to Ryan's video after watching a couple because I think we related really similar on pretty much all the points that we sort of covered in our original discussion, and that was really mainly centered around location. I think when you have a situation come up where if you're presented with sort of advising a city council how to go about selling this idea to their community, I think it's going to be uh, not black and white, but it's going to be pretty straightforward of whether or not it's a good sell or not based on your location. And Ryan covered a lot of the stuff. Obviously, a smaller market tends to do a little bit better just because you're not gonna be sort of taken away from larger events. Stick a minor league team right in the heart of Manhattan, New York. Which there are some around there. There's some out in Brooklyn and others, but for the most part, you stick one right in downtown, and every night you're competing with Broadway, some kind of major other sports throughout the summer, whether it be the Yankees, the Mets, or another sport, the Knicks, something like that. There's going to be other concert. I mean, there's so much going on in that area that your minor league team is not going to be the thing there. And for a lot of these teams, especially minor league baseball, the most successful teams really find a niche where they are that thing in their area. So I think location is really the big thing. And then Ryan also covered, when you're going to present, if you're able to be in an area that you think you could positively present this, some other things that you can look at for financial reasons is, can we bring concerts in? Can we do other things outside of just baseball that can, sort of help us on the back end financially, sort of sustain the cost that it's going to have to keep a team here, so that the ballpark is used constantly. So that's some other things. And then back to location, because he kind of touched on this at the end. More than just being a big market in a small market like New York or some rural place. Towns also sort of get their own character, being sports towns, quote unquote, or like not sports towns. You talked about sort of Lexington, Kentucky, not a major market, but it's known for its sports. And you also touched on Durham. The Bulls there, the minor league movie was shot, all that. That's also where Duke is, and they like their football and their basketball there. And there's some smaller markets that are just sports towns that it would work a lot better in. You get other markets sometimes, excuse me, that are sort of similar in size. Logistics may be similar, but it's just not a sports area. You could be somewhere in Central America, not Central America, but Central U.S., out in the Midwest, northern area, South Dakotas, Wyoming, those kind of, and there's going to just be areas where that's not really their thing. So yeah, I think about 95% of what you would do sort of advising wise for a council, if this sort of came to you, I think would really depend on location and other areas that were affected by geography. The logistics of your area, what can you supply as far as lodging, infrastructure with highways, buildings, restaurants, things like that. All those together sort of, I would think, make your location and your setting for where your park would be the most important part of whether or not you could really sell this to a community or not.